Nigeria was initially given, the quota for 1.1 million barrels per day. But the projection as far as Nigeria is concerned is 1.5 million barrels per day. We actually want to do more because we know we have the capacity to do more. Angola too, in a way to show his own dissatisfaction, wrote a letter to OPEC to protest about the quota given to it, and I'm aware they're trying to resolve that. But the forecast coming from the executive chairman of the African Energy Chamber is that he's optimistic that come 2024 there will be stability in the global oil market. Dr. Idahosa is smiling. Maybe you don't share that optimism.
Well, I think we don't live in a world today that where people can talk about absolute optimism. Because like I have said here some time ago, experts in management describe the world we live in today as very volatile, very uncertain, very complex, and ambiguous. So when you use that frame to analyze the way things are changing in the world, I think it's not optimism for stability that we need. We actually need a preparation for the unexpected. And I think that's what Africans should be thinking about. That in case something else happens, what else are we going to do? Because that is also what is going to push the agility of most African leaders. We can't just sit down and be looking at oil prices, because anything can happen. It could just be a natural disaster like we saw in COVID, and the whole world is shut down. And oil is selling at minus. So what are we going to do if this happens again? And I think this is where we need to really sit down and be thinking, not too very hopeful, but begin to find solutions to problems that does not yet exist. And I think that for me is what African elite should be doing, and not really necessarily looking at money that will continue to roll in. We should be able to actually be making projections based on zero earnings. And I think that's the way to live in the global world today. Because the rate of change is now more than the speed of light. So in nanosecond, things change. And of course, once there's a disruption in one part of the globe, it affects everybody.
But being optimistic, isn't it like a strategy to draw up strength or energy or to inspire
you can
kind of right action?
You can talk about optimism
that these targets are being
like they say
met.
In ceteris paribus, everything being equal, but nothing has ever been equal. That's my point. Yeah, rather than be necessarily optimistic and hopeful, or just put hope, I think what we need to do is to put things on the ground. What are alternatives that we can exploit? And I think that's what other people are doing. So you are saying that if you're saying that there's a whole lot of effort to constrain your market, you read that in the news this morning about China. So you turn your searchlight inside. So in case the outside is blocked, then we are not caught unawares. And I think that for me is what it is. Because when we seem to express this hope that things are going to be stable and then things are no longer stable, that's not when we should start to plan. We should plan and have a mindset that things are not going to be stable. And if things are not going to be stable, what are the alternatives available for us to survive? Now, once we can look at those issues, a lot can be very okay for us. And I think this is where, especially those who play in the African energy sector, need to begin to look at the cooperation between African countries and see how can we trade more with ourselves. So that even when the ships are not coming through the Panama Ocean or coming through the Suez Canal, we can still survive by trade routes. These are issues. How do we leverage and manage the gas opportunity within us, that we can grow those capacity inside, that in case there is a shock from outside of our block, we will be able to survive those shocks. So for me, I think that's what it is. Not just
being optimistic.
Or being optimistic that, of course, we see things, all of a sudden we thought COVID was over, and then the Ukraine crisis started. And we thought that, oh, it was going to be for a few months, now it's lasting for years. And then while we are still trying to grapple with the things happening there, you are seeing the Israeli-Palestinian crisis. So all these things will continue to come. Like I said, if you look at Ray Dalio's work, where he talks about the principle of life, you look at these 3 big circles of prosperity, debt, and crisis. So the world is experiencing huge debt. So what are we expecting? More crisis. So this person has just done a groundwork for us that we should be focusing on more crisis. Now what happens is, if at the end of the day there's no crisis, you are the gainer. You don't lose anything. But if you plan and having that everything is going to be stable, and then there is instability, then you are taking off your foot, and then you cannot really survive. So this is why I feel that our conversation should be more on what is the alternative to what we currently have. How can we survive in case the unexpected happens?
I think that's a wise way to go, because really you can't predict accurately all that will happen, because it's not entirely left to the African leaders what happens at the global markets. Though there are hopes that oil will sell between 70 to 90 barrels in the coming year, but anything can change. It could go higher, it could even be way less. So creating an alternative source of revenue would be wise at this point. To become just oil dependent for African nations is very risky. So it's something that they should begin to look at to do. But for OPEC, Nigeria and some countries that want to increase their quota, I don't really think anything will be done by OPEC at this particular time, because it's already decided. Maybe well, if anything, they may just move from 1.1 to 1.3, but I don't see them giving Nigeria that 1.5 million barrels per day that it seeks, or even Angola more, except Nigeria and some other countries want to take the risk of joining the non-OPEC countries so they can produce as much as they want. But you know how it is with some of these international bodies. You could have the oil to sell, but you may not have the market at the end of the day, because they may push for countries to boycott what you have to sell. So, but I think the wise thing to do now is to become to have monoproducts for exports. That's a sure way. So if all things being equal and the global market becomes stable as hoped for, because when people say they're optimistic, it's just another way of saying they are hopeful. So hope is not something you can go to the market with, because it's not guaranteed.
If you look at the context at which the statement was made, it was a forum where you have the stakeholders and the experts, and so you know, as a leader, somehow you give people hope. That was exactly what he was trying to do, to give people hope based on the quota given to different members of the petroleum exporting nations, you know. But the truth here, like you say, in reality, you might plan, things might not turn out the way you've planned it, and that's why what it's on paper versus what becomes reality, it's critical. And then for Nigeria, I think what we also need to do is to look inward. If the projection is for us to produce 1.5 million barrels per day, which is according to the minister now, he feels that's what Nigeria can do, in contrary to the OPEC quota given, which is 1.1 million. And so it's important for Nigeria now to sit up and look inward to see how they can meet that target. And then block out the loopholes as well.
It's even to look at the fundamentals. We used to have 2.1 million quotas.
Yeah, sure, up to 2.1 million barrels.
And we were not able to meet those quotas. And I think it's also to allow for projections for even buyers to know what you can actually do. Have we resolved and sorted the issues around the Niger Delta? We still saw last week the pulling down of some illegal refineries that are taking crude straight from pipelines. And all those things are still there. So we have to, first of all, clean out those areas and be sure that the pipelines are safe. And then, of course, that what is being produced is even metered, that we know what we can actually produce and sell. So if that is done, why not we can begin to think about how to raise the quota. But first of all, it's even to put our house in order and to be sure that whatever it is that is making us not to be able to perform, that those hindrances, obstacles are cleared out, and then we can now approach the market with some possibilities.
It's even on record that was a year, a particular period, Nigeria had to eat like 2 million barrels per day. It's been on record. Those were days when the refineries were working at maximum capacity. You know, there are promises like the Port Harcourt refinery, you know, the minister promised is going to be delivered by December. We have a few days and we're being given the impression that yes, it's in good state now. So let's see what's going to come out of it. But hopefully too as well, I think there's a need for us to do more when it comes to our local refineries. Most of these refineries, the technology, you know, it's obsolete and you can't actually depend on them. Even when you refurbish them, they might not be able to perform to a maximum capacity because of the limitations you have with the technology. But let's hope. 2024 is almost here.
Yeah.
So the best we can do is to be hopeful. I like that word. All right, let's look at what the Nigerian police force is rolling out. You know, the police, they've rolled out an upgraded electronic central motor registry. Let me read to you the essence of this registry. It's designed to enable swift and efficient tracking of stolen vehicles, maintain an accurate and up-to-date database of registered vehicles, and prevent the registration of stolen vehicles. You know, we've been clamoring that, okay, for activities that has to be, you know, technology has to be deployed. And that's what the Nigerian police force is doing now. They are rolling out a centralized database for all registered vehicles, whereby you can track the owners of the vehicles, every information about the vehicle itself. And in case where some vehicles are stolen, you prevent a situation whereby the person who has stolen wants to re-register it, you know, re-registration of stolen vehicles, that will be prevented. And interestingly, they've, you know, published a website whereby you can actually go there to put in your details and then everything is harmonized. Isn't this a good development?
Sorry, I just have to jump the gun by asking you, how much is this service going to cost?
Well, we've not been told this.
I don't think it's about. I don't think it's about cost.
And I have to ask that.
And I think
it's about the efficiency.
It's more about the efficiency in terms of how we are able to respond to emerging crime issues. Yeah. You know, it's very easy for somebody to steal a vehicle in Nigeria and register it.
Yes.
Because all you just need to do, those people, CMR, who go to police, they do one for you. And then, of course, how those records are kept is another thing. They can't even go back to go and search that somebody want to register that kind of vehicle and somebody is going to be looking at all these things. So if we are able to digitize those information that are there before now, that's the starting point. You see, because when you are digitalizing, you are starting from today. The starting point is to first digitize. That all those manual that has been done over time, then we have to capture and put the record on that website. Because if it's a straight digitalization, you know, because many people do not see the difference between digitization and digitalization. Now, if you digitize, it means you have converted your old data into electronic format that can be uploaded. Now, so police force have to do that. Because there is already, you don't do CMR every day. It's once in a lifetime. So you do that record. So they need to update that site with the record of the vehicles that are currently registered nationwide. And that's when, of course, you will be able to track with this new E. Because what this new E is that it's like, you see, I have a vehicle that's stolen. I jump on the site and I go and register it. So if that is the data that is captured, now the only person who will be prevented is the next thief. Oh yeah, because this happens. And I saw that with CFO, with states, that somebody takes another person's land and just gets to the state office and do a perfect C of O. And when you go to court, court is asking of C of O. They are not looking for a record of the original owner of the land. So if these things are not done in such a way that you digitize the process and then, of course, convert the old data that are manual into electronic format that can be uploaded, then you will be able to track. But outside of it, I think it's a very, very good development. And one of the things that we cannot stop advocating here in Nigeria is the fact that we need to go electronic. And that is important. All countries in the world, they are adopting blockchain technology to drive the process of governance, such that whatever thing that is happening, so if a vehicle is stolen in Kano and somebody bring it to the Lagos market, you want to register it, then of course the system will flag it off that this is stolen. So that will reduce crime drastically, especially the stealing of car. So like you have said, is online you are going to do, of course you pay token. Again, of course, it also make revenue even secure for government, because this process of faking CMR, it will also be taken care of. And then, of course, the revenue, because in this case, if you're going to do it digitally, which means, of course, you have to use remitter for payment. So that also will boost revenue for government. On the whole, I think it's something that is should be appreciated, that the police is thinking digital.
Thank you for landing where I started, because I had to ask, how much will this cost? I know very well it's not going to be free.
The reason the website is free. It now depends on what you want to do when you get to the
website. What would you want to do in the website if it's not to register your vehicle? Why would you go there?
So if you need to register...
Is this a movie site?
No.
No, but even at Mama, it's not free. You have to pay for it.
You could go there to find out. If, for instance, you buy a vehicle now, in fact, there are reports even suggesting that Nigerians now, they buy more of Nigerian used vehicles than the brand new ones. So if you buy that kind of vehicle, what it means is for you to ascertain the true owner of the vehicle, whether it's stolen or not. It's easier for you to go to the website, you input the details of the vehicle, the registration number, and every other thing, and that gives you every information you need to know about it. But now if you now need to register your vehicle, that could be another ball game, which according to the series, it has not been stated. But the essence of this is for you to have a database to ascertain the true owner of the vehicle, and that gives you easy access, because it's something Femi, you can access on your phone.
I get
so it makes it easier for you.
The reason that I asked the question first, like how much is it going to cost? For phones that are stolen and people want to track where the phone is, they go over to the police. They have a department that handles that. And you are told to pay sometimes 50,000 naira to track the phone. And the person weighs the cost. Maybe the phone that was stolen is 100,000 naira. And the person has used that phone for like a year or two. I'm asked to pay 50,000 naira to track the phone. The person thinks again and just weighs the options. Maybe I just add another 50,000 naira to that money and go buy myself a new phone. Because sometimes these services cost. I like the initiative, but the workability of it, going by what we already know, is what I doubt. I'm sorry, I am not optimistic this time around that it's going to work the way we expect it to be, because I think the cost attached to it might just be a barrier.
No. I think it will become cheaper, because now you are not requiring too much of paper, you are not requiring too much of human intervention. What you just require is that the server is up and running, and then you can log in electronically and you do this thing. Let me give you one very funny scenario in the UAE. If, for example, you have an accident on the road and you want to call the police, the police will come. When they finish investigating the accident scene, they will give you a bill and say, thank you for calling us. You have 1,200 dirham to pay for our service. And if you are somebody who is new in the environment, say, why? I called police. They say, it was a luxury for you to call us, because you can access this same service online. So you don't need us to be here. So since you now need us to come, you are doing it at your own luxury. That's the point we're making. So, you see, if you're going to track one phone, you're going to deploy men. Technology is not going to look at, for example, they can use the device to see, for example, where the phone is, but may have to be moving from one place to the other to go and look for that telephone to recover it. They'll be fueling the vehicle. You will have more than 3 men who could be there. And now the phone is not going to be in the same place. The phone can also be moving, and somebody is tracking it. So that's a cost on its own. What the website has done is that it has reduced the pressure of people having to come to Zone 2 in Lagos, for example, to come and do a CMR. Then the police can actually now use their time to do and focus on proper things that they should be doing, which is the security of life and property. So you won't have personnel and men who you just put in one place. At the maximum, you have 1 person or 2 persons at the front end and the back end of the server to ensure that this service is done well. So you see, that is what it is. So the cost will drastically go down. So it will not be as expensive as it were. But again,
Save time and energy.
Yeah,
Are you
just
trying to save time and energy? Because we find situations where...
No. The point is that, you see, there's a whole lot of gain. Even reducing the carbon footprint of people having to move from one place to the other will also reduce. So this is all benefits and us. But one of the issues that I must also have to find out, we also need to assess the site to see if there's a provision for the supply of NIN.
Attached to every vehicle.
Every vehicle. Because they're talking about data here. So it's not just going to be police data alone. It's police data vis-a-vis the data on the national database. So we'll be able to check whether the address of the new owner tally with the address he has on his NIN. And once this is done and we're able to validate this process, I think it will be a better thing that this vehicle theft will reduce drastically, because except that they want to take it across the border or they want to take it for butchering. Otherwise, there will be no more incentive to steal vehicle for sale.
The initiative is laudable, but I doubt the process to it. Now, we talk about it saving time. How are we sure that it's going to save time?
No.
We can have e-registration, and we can also have the fact that you are asked to come with your documents again to have everything registered. So we can have duplicity of registration. You do the online part and then you do the manual part.
No.
Okay.
That is not stated. You see, we have to put the argument where it is.
Let's hope it doesn't happen.
What I'm saying is complete E. Of course, you actually get your CMR or electronically signed. So that's what it is. So you can then download and print out. Now, the issue is that, of course, it's not going to be, if you're able to afford a car, for example, naturally, for every registration of vehicle, you need a CMR. It's a requirement in Nigeria. You can't drive the car without a CMR. So what this has done for us is that you can now access your CMR online without necessarily having to recruit a tout or patronize agent who will help you to go to, sometimes some of them also fake this process. So that sanitizes the process. And then, of course, in terms of revenue collection, it also makes it more efficient, because now you're going to pay online and the revenue is hitting the government directly, unlike the one you do manually and somebody is asking you for what's it called? Pay some money to go and do something. I got something happened to me the other day. Road safety blocked me and they said, oh, my plate number was dim. I said, this is not my fault, you printed it and there's no expiration date on the plate number. They said, but it's not clear. And I said, okay, what do I do? They said, I need to buy a new plate number. And I bought a plate number over 35,000 and somebody told me replacement was 12,000. So if I have that service online, it will be simpler for me to
put it
on online and then get my service delivered. But because you are not paying online, somebody is charging me 2 times what or 3 times what I'm supposed to pay, and then of course thing is doing me hard. See, so these are the things that electronics do for you. So you can stay in the comfort of your house and then fill the form online, and then it reduces the pressure and the time that you will need to go to a place to go and do this thing. So for me, really, I think really government services, all government services should be E at this time and age.
Well, for this particular one, I think over time we'll need to revisit it and see how the process goes, but I have my doubts.
No, you don't need to have your doubt. I was talking with Mr. Sam yesterday while he was coming from Kigali. He said, oh, his visa was for 30 days, and then he has exceeded 30 days by 1 day, and so you go to the airport and you put your passport, and then they say to you, go to a rainbow. You need to class of certain things, and you have to go there. There's a fine for it. You go there, you pay, then they allow you to go. It's as simple as that. See, everything comes at a cost, and government is run at a cost. So we must get to that level of conversation that anybody who has money to buy a car should not be afraid to register that car.